The Dillon Quirke Senior Hurling Challenge between Tipperary and Kilkenny takes place in FBD Simple Stadium on Sunday, February the 19th at 2 o'clock. Here to talk a little bit about the challenge, the Dillon Quirke Foundation, and indeed Dillon himself, is former Dublin minor hurler and Ireland international Niall Quinn. Niall, you're very welcome.
Thank you, Jonathan. Yeah, lovely to be here.
I suppose you got involved in the Dillon Quirke Foundation because of your friendship with Dillon and indeed the Quirke family. Could you maybe tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, I knew Dan for a long time through friends of mine, Joe Hayes and people like that, the great Jimmy Morrissey from out that way in Ballock, and we had great fun over the years, and I actually went into business then with Dan as well and got to know the family even better, and was around for Dillon's emergence as, you know, a top sportsman. You know, he really had made the grade, and the journey to get there, you know, it was a pleasure just being a little bit away from it, but understanding the leaps he was taking each year when he was making that progress. So someone who we were very fond of, used to text Dan all the time and watch, you know, he'd have me sort of excited. I'd be watching Tipperary matches with a different view than I've ever done because of Dillon, and his progress, of course, was outstanding. So it was a really, I suppose, nice thing for me to do, to be able to look on at someone like Dillon. The odd time Dan had asked me, what do you think of this or what do you think of that? And you know, I played a bit of golf then with Dillon. He was a fair golfer too. Don't many people know that, and he's better than his dad anyway. And I can remember distinctly down in Adair Manor at JP McManus's get-together, famous get-together there in I think it was last April or May. Dillon was on the sideline outside the ropes, and he was walking along with us, and I played a really bad shot, you know, and it was kind of a quiet bit of where the crowd was. It was out the country bit, and Dillon went, "Jesus, Quinn, how did you get on this golf thing?" You know, like, and Nick Faldo, who was playing with, started laughing, you know, and I explained to Nick Faldo who Dillon was, and you know what a great sportsman he was, and if things go well this year, he'll be playing his final in front of over 80,000, and. So Sir Nick Faldo said to me, "Oh right, and how much money does he get for that?" You know, I said, "He doesn't. He does it for nothing." And I never forget Nick Faldo going, "Geez, that's not very good, is it?" You know, and Dillon laughed, and we walked on, and that was the last time I spoke to him. So you know, face to face, and he was just a beautiful young man. There's a lot being said about him, but it's all true. And you know how quickly he rose to prominence as a great hurler, and the friends that he made, and those whose lives he helped enhance, are just it's an incredible story, and so sad, but yet something so positive happening from it. You know, with the not just the blessing of the Quirke family, but with the drive and the push from the Quirke family that just make this whole thing. It's tough, of course, but it's also very exciting. It's brilliant what they're doing, and to be any part in it, to play any role at all, is a pleasure for me and anyone who's asked.
Sudden adult death syndrome, you know, it takes about 100 lives a year in Ireland. So the aims, the ambitions of the foundation are, of course, to screen young children, males and females, and try and, you know, bring down that number and bring it down hopefully considerably.
Yeah, it's brilliant, you know, from Dan, Hazel and the girls, you know, to focus on this and make this the centre of their attention in terms of how coping with Dillon's passing, but also the future and how it might be a real positive outcome out of something so terrible. And I believe their noble cause. It's incredible that they're thinking of all of the other children, the statistics that you mentioned, and not just children. It goes into adulthood as well. That players at clubs now have an opportunity to perhaps be tested in the very early stages, so this can be caught, and it does work. And it's a real good way of doing things, because if you were to try and do this normally, if you're a parent and you want to maybe just be sure about your child and you want to maybe get the child tested, you have to go to the doctor, you have to pay a fee there, you then to be put on a list, you go and see, you know, maybe somebody in a big city further away, might be an expert in the area in cardiology, and that'll cost money, and then you might have to get something done about it, that'll cost money. But the beauty of this is in one stop. You know, if anything at all comes up on the test, that's handed over to parents at that point, and you'll at least, as an organisation, as a foundation, you will have got that person on the right track. You know, and doing that in the numbers that the foundation is going to be doing it in is just fantastic. And Does it work? Is it worth doing? Well, actually, in Italy, the government did something about this 20 years ago, because this isn't something that's just arrived. SADS has been happening for a long time now. And their results show that there is 82% of an improvement in young people who are affected by this and who lose their life. So it's hard to think that we don't have it in place for every young child anyway. It should be. Everything that the country has done in our emergence as a nation over the last 100 years, we're not there yet, but the Quirke family are making it happen, and so to support that is great.
It's something that hasn't really been done as such in Ireland to date. The Quirke family, as you say, are driving this on, and I'm sure that Dillon would really, really be proud of something like this.
Well, yeah, and it's great for them. And to be fair now to Brendan O'Carroll, the comedian, he brought in an attempt to do this with the FAI, which is doing its bit quietly and silently. So there is great awareness out there that it's something that is necessary. It's frightening to think that there was 99 other Dillon Quirkes in the last 12 months. I mean, that's the thing that should grab all of our attention. And for Dan and Hazel and the girls to be so behind us, and the community that's so supportive of them anyway, also in the driving seat and pushing this, I think it can only do good things, And Dillon, obviously, his memory, that great young man that he was, and everything that he did in his short life, that it's not just a memory, that something really positive will be happening for it. And I know Dan and Hazel are really grateful of those who are supporting, and in any way at all, they feel energized at a terrible, terrible time, and it's very important, that those of us who are supporting it understand that and realize that what Dan and Hazel are doing is kind of out of the ordinary a little bit, and the positivity that comes elsewhere for it, that'll be their grieving. And I think we should all understand that and appreciate that the Quirke family want to see no other family in Ireland go through what they've had to go through, and they're so determined to do it, and the community around them are so determined. So to come along and promote and to tell people the story, it's an easy thing to do when you see the power of what's happening here.
If we turn then to the day itself, the game itself, Tipperary versus Kilkenny. A lot of memories, a lot of great days, a lot of maybe not so great days for Tipperary, but we can guarantee anyway that is coming to FBD Simple Stadium on that day. We'll have Hawkeye turned off, we'll have a chat with the referee, so we'll make sure that things maybe go our way, if we can at all.
I don't know if you can go that far now these days, but it'll be a smashing day, and it's not just a day for the people who can attend and who'll come and support on the day. There's a great opportunity for everybody in the country who's touched by this to support the day's event by buying a non-attendance ticket. And I know a thing or two about non-attendance tickets, because many years ago when I had a charity game up in Sunderland as a soccer player, a Sunderland fan who was in prison wrote to me and said, "I can't attend the game. Thank you for everything you did for my club. I made some mistakes in life, but I'd like to make up by buying a non-attendance ticket from you. If you could print a ticket for me, I have £10 saved up." And that's where he was at that time in his life. And it set off a little sort of idea in my head, and I spoke to a person who was helping me on the committee who was from Barclays, and he put up an answering station in Barclays where all the workers came and did an hour at a time. Now, it wasn't so easy in them days, there was no digital way of producing a non-attendance ticket, and we got almost 40,000 people pledged for a non-attendance ticket. And we did something similar for Liam Miller, though we didn't get enough traction with Liam in as much that there was a short run-in. But now that there's a couple of weeks, maybe 3 weeks by the time from today, but maybe a couple of weeks by the time we get it out there in its digital form, I'd recommend anybody who wants to help that you're only doing the right thing. Please buy a non-attendance ticket. It'll be a digital ticket, so it won't be in the post like we had to do. We had thousands and thousands of young volunteers in Sunderland that time putting match programs and non-attendance tickets into an envelope, sending it off to addresses. It's an awful lot easier nowadays digitally, and it's so easy for people to donate, and then much easier for the foundation itself to get a really worthwhile program that I think is going to be about 30 digital pages with great stories on it, great support there from greats in the game. And then on top of that, the actual certificate and the non-attendance ticket itself will be a reminder that they've helped what can only be described as a brilliant, selfless attempt by the Quirke family to do something great for all the young hurlers and footballers, boys and girls, and indeed older ones, because this can stretch right through to the club senior teams. To do that around the country the way they want to do it, it's a brilliant thing to do.
Yes, and of course, so anybody that does want to buy a non-attendance ticket or an attendance ticket or indeed a streaming pass can do so by logging on to the Dillon Quirke Foundation website page or the Tipperary GAA page, and all the details are there for you. So we would really encourage everybody, as many people as possible, to do that, get involved and get behind what is going to be a fantastic foundation, and please God will save many lives. Niall Quinn, thank you very much.
Not at all, thank you.